In this video, we will see how the Photoshop mobile apps can be used as a part of your Photoshop workflow, preparing retouching or even layered compositions directly on your iPad, iPhone or Android device. So let me first of all switch to my iPad, and I can show you first Photoshop Fix, which is a brilliant application, and by the way, it's completely free. So even if you have no Creative Cloud subscription, and maybe even if you don't have Photoshop at all, you can still use this for free. Now, of course, if you are a Creative Cloud user, you will have access to a lot of additional features, and you will be able to upload the work you do on your iPad or on your mobile device to your Creative Cloud storage and sync it straight back onto your desktop computer and continue working within Photoshop. So let's say I'm currently on the move, on the train, anywhere, having my iPad with me, and I would like to start a retouching project based on one of the files I have saved earlier. It could even be an image I took with my iPad, so I could select camera here, or I can take pictures from all these other sources, but I'm going to choose Creative Cloud, where I can find all the files on my cloud storage, and there's a folder I prepared. So here's this lovely image. Let's just open this up, which will turn straight into a project here in Photoshop Fix. Now at the bottom, we can already see all the different things that we can do. For example, cropping. So let's just crop this in slightly, make it more into a portrait format, like that. Okay, if I just accept this, we'll see the crop worked. And then we can zoom closer. We could do so many different things, but let me just show you the most impressive feature, Liquify, which we have in Photoshop as well, but here in Photoshop Fix, it actually has a face detection system. And I wish we have this also in Photoshop CC. So what you can do is you select a feature like the chin, and then here on the right, we get these options. If I select chin, I can increase, decrease this value, and just like magic, I can decide how big I want her chin to be. So let's say I want to drag it up slightly like that. Then I switch to jawline, and I can also change the jaw, something like that. The width of the face completely can be changed as well. Maybe make that also slightly thinner like that. And then face distortion is brilliant as well, because sometimes if you take pictures too close to the person, you will get the face slightly distorted. So you can compensate for that, and you can see how nicely we can adjust this value as well. So here on the top left corner, this icon, if you just tap on that, you can see before. When you let go, you see after. So that's a quick way to check before and after. So I think we managed to remove the distortion. So now we can switch back to edit something else. If I just tap on face at the bottom, we can select her lips. And another really cool feature is a smile, with which you can increase the smile or decrease the smile and make her more sad. But I think we can make her a bit more happy, something like that. We can then also adjust the lips, so we can make her upper lip a little bit bigger, like that. We can also make her smile even wider. And then again, we can go back and maybe select the nose. Again, we can adjust the width of the nose. We don't want to squash it too small, so I'm just going to go something like that. Then we can select the eyes as well. And we could increase the size of the eyes, which can be slightly scary, just slightly like that. Then we can also increase the height of the eyes, open them up slightly more. And if you still feel like you need to adjust something manually, you can switch to the warp option. And with that, you can push details in manually. So we can adjust that part of the face maybe slightly. And then if we want to see again before and after, we just use the same top left icon, tap on it, let go, and then we are happy. We just tick it on the bottom right corner. And that was really just one of the features here at the bottom, the Liquify. There's so many other options we could do. But let me show you what happens if I send this to Photoshop. So here on the top right, we have this icon. And if I click on that, we can choose so many different options. You can even publish your work directly on Behance, or you can send it to Instagram, Facebook, save it to Lightroom, or just save it back to your camera. But what I'm interested in is to send it to Photoshop. So once I choose that, it's going to upload this file. And because I have Photoshop open in the background on my desktop computer, it will automatically open up the file as well there. So once it finished uploading it, I'm going to switch to the background into Photoshop. So now it's rendering the PSD file for me, save to cloud. And when I come back here, it's going to take a moment and it will open up automatically. So on the top right corner, I can see that it has been added to my Creative Cloud. And there you go, the image opened up. And I'm just going to show you what we have here in the layers panel. So we have the cropped edits in a layer group, which means if I use my move tool, I can see that the original image is still there. So the crop was completely non-destructive. The only thing that happened on the same layer is the liquify. So I can't actually see the original image. This is the retouched version. But in case you use other types of adjustments, they would be also separate layers. And just to prove that to you, let me switch back to my iPad. And I'm going to go back to another application called Photoshop Mix. Now, while Photoshop Fix is great for retouching images, Photoshop Mix is more to create composites, so combining different images together. And you can see a couple of composites here created by the community and shared on Behance. There's some really cool examples there. But let's create our own composite. So I'm going to press on creating a new project. And I am going to again go to my Creative Cloud files. So go into the course, and there I have a really cool image, this one with the seagull. So I'm just going to open that one. That's going to be my base layer. That's it. And here on the right, I can already see that I can add the second photo. So let's just do that. Click on the plus, and once again, I go to Creative Cloud, my files, and then I'm going to select that plane. I choose Open File. And I'm sure you already know what I'm planning to do here. So now that I have two separate layers, you can see I can move this one separately. And just with the tap of my fingers and the hand gestures, I can rotate and do all kinds of things that you would normally do with the free transform tool in Photoshop. So I can scale this second layer, I can rotate it. And now the most important thing, I can also cut it out. I can zoom closer just to make sure I will do it correctly. Okay, like that. So now, first of all, we can decide whether we prefer to select the plane or the background. But just like in Photoshop, it doesn't matter because you can invert your selection. So what I will do is I will start selecting the background, because I think that might be slightly easier. So I go around the plane and let Photoshop Mix do the work for me. So finding the edges, I stayed away from the edges, and you can see it already created a quite good selection. But I can now invert this. So there at the bottom we have the invert option, and we have a good selection there. We could always refine this, but I won't spend too much time on it here in the app, because we can also refine it within Photoshop at the end. So I'm just going to click on Accept. And there you go. We have a really good composite here already, but we can also make more amends to it. So we can move it around if we want. We can also make it slightly bigger, just as it's flying into the image if we want to do that. And then also we could use adjustments. So if I click on looks, you can see almost like Instagram, we have a couple of effects here just for the plane. Or I can also choose adjust, and then I have even more options. So if I felt like the plane is slightly too dark, I can use exposure, and then I can drag it up just to make it slightly brighter. Or we can even click on auto fix on the left, and then let's see how it looks. If we feel like it's too bright, we can always undo. Here on the top right corner, you always have the option to undo your last step. Okay, so that again is just a really small portion of what you can do, because here at the bottom you have amazing features like the shake reduction is there, upright. So many amazing Photoshop technologies are integrated into this application for free. But what I love is, again, I can take this into Photoshop. So when I go to the share option on the top right, I can choose send to Photoshop, which is work exactly the same way as in Photoshop Fix. So it's going to render a PSD for me. And if I have a version of Photoshop open on a desktop computer, which is also currently online, then it's going to automatically open that PSD file on my desktop application. So I got the message, then it's stored on the Creative Cloud. So let's go back to Photoshop and we just wait a second and it should come up. And there it is. So the great thing about this is I have the plane as a separate layer, so I can use the move tool and move it around. And even better than that, there is the mask. If I alt click on the mask, we can see it and we can improve it. So if we find any details that we need to improve, we can finish that off here on the desktop version, instead of spending time trying to refine it on the iPad or the mobile device. So I can always use the tools that we are used to and paint over any details that we need to improve or refine. We could also use the refine mask option and add additional adjustments if we want, like let's say curves, which I'm going to apply only on the plane, and increase the shadows, decrease the highlights just to increase the contrast on the plane slightly. And then I zoom back, we can see before the adjustment, after, and so on and so forth. Once again, if I feel like the plane is too big, I could always make it smaller, get it even closer. We can even make it look like it's actually going into the seagull's mouth. But just to make it believable, I can keep it there, and it just looks like a very lucky shot where the plane could be far away in the background and the seagull in the front. But that just gives you an idea how connected you can be to your creative work, even when you are away from your computer. So you can really put to use your mobile devices while you are on the way, and you can start projects, prepare things in a professional format. So you see the extraction is turned into a mask, which is completely non-destructive. You have the two images on separate layers. And in the other example with the retouching, we had the girl crop, but still we didn't lose all those crop details, and so on and so forth. It just really makes it worthwhile spending time preparing your projects and make use of the connected Creative Cloud experience. And that's not even all the Photoshop apps you can use that are free. There's also Photoshop Sketch, Photoshop Elements, and Photoshop Lightroom, which I already showed you in a previous video. So now that we had so much fun with this, in the next video, I'm going to talk about something a bit more serious and explain how to prepare for the Adobe Certified Associate exam.